So, what's the question? The question is, how will we write in the future? How will we write if we run out of trees? How will we write if we run out of electricity? Not just for a day or so, but for forever. How might we write after the bomb, whatever that ends up looking like? How much more involved will robots be with our writing in the coming years? What company will go out of business first? Microsoft, Google, Apple? What will some great author write down on some piece of paper that I recycled today? How will the teaching of writing change in 100 years? Will the pen always be mightier than the sword, if it even is now? How many pens will we have manufactured after it's all said and done? How many pens will we have lost or borrowed collectively over the years? Are pens a good investment? Should I start hoarding pens to sell in the event of an apocalypse? Will it ever be easier or less daunting to write an essay? Or is that sort of the deal? When will our current version of English sound funny, like Shakespeare's? Who will output more text next year, humans or machines? What might libraries look like in 1,000 years? Will there be any left? Who will buy the last book from Amazon? Who will finish the last book? Is writing generally more divisive or generative? How will we write during the next big disaster? How will we write after the next big disaster? Are we always already composing in the face of disaster? When would it be unnecessary to write anymore? What might the last billboard advertise? Might graffiti be a necessary medium in the apocalypse? What country will produce the last great author? And does that country even exist yet? Has the last great author even been born yet? How many more languages might we develop? Why isn't anyone else worried about whether we'll run out of pencils and not be able to make any more? How many times will humans type the word "the" next week? Will there ever be a universal language? When will English become a dead language? How many science fiction things will come true? All of them? How do you leave a message that someone else can read in 10,000 years? Who will use the last adjective? And will it be a sad one? What new genres might we invent in 1,000 years? When will we let go of the rules? What new rules might we come up with? Could commas ever become obsolete? What will the last misspelled word be? What letter will we have used the most? Maybe a vowel. When will we stop using Microsoft Word and why? What kind of writing archive would last the longest? Will we have lost more texts than we've saved in the end? I know that astronauts have already written in space, and I'm jealous about that. But will we ever write on other planets? Does sending messages to space rovers on Mars count as writing on other planets? Will any other species ever learn to write their own names? Or are other species already writing things on distant planets? I think that there must be some sort of writing on the moon right now, left over from some mission, isn't there? What would aliens write about that's different than what we write about? How many words are saved in the cloud right now? Do computers in heaven come preloaded with Microsoft Word, or are they running their own proprietary software? How many more emails do I have to send before I die? Are our writing devices slowly giving us cancer? Do we write more during war or during peacetime? Who will send the last letter in the mail? And who will be the last postman or woman to walk a letter up to someone's front door? What would cause PDFs to become obsolete file types? Will the QWERTY keyboard ever die? How many pounds of receipts will never be read? Is writing getting easier or harder or about the same? What will be the last grade on an essay ever? Are we thinking higher or lower? Is it better to spend a lifetime on one text or to try to generate as many different texts as possible? Which is worse, writing too little or writing too much? What will be written on the last page? Would it be a tragedy or success for humans to eventually do away with writing altogether? What percentage of all human writing have we completed so far? How many of our texts will outlive us altogether? Who will be the next Anne Frank? How many text messages were sent during 9/11? How many text messages have been sent that say, I love you? How many text messages have been sent in our classes? What's the next word that we will add to the dictionary? What word have you learned but forgotten or will never use? What will the apocalypse uncover about writing? Who can teach us to prep for writing practices we do not yet know? Will we always write with computers from here on out? Could we develop new reasons to write altogether? How many electrons are involved when I type my name? And where do they head off to when they're done with me? What will be the last piece of paper to turn to dust? Will neon signs ever go out of style because they seem to be everywhere in those futuristic movies? Who opened the first graphite mine, and who will close the last one? Who was the first person to write on a sheep's skin? And do we still do that anywhere in the world right now? Who was the first person to write on stone, and who will be the last? Who was the first person to use a typewriter, and who will be the last? Who was the first person to write? Who will be the last person to write? What will our final writing tool look like? How many more composition notebooks will we fill up together? And how many will we leave blank? How will my 1-year-old daughter write when she's 80? How will their daughters write when they grow up? How will our great-grandchildren tell each other their names? What will my daughters read that hasn't even been written yet? Is there some way to keep writing after we die? What is the right way to compose new beginnings? How many apocalypses can we hold off with words? What's the next thing you're going to write? What's the last thing you're going to write?